it takes away from like that decision fatigue of like having to make a
Right.
decision about what I'm going to do next every single day. Like, I don't want to spend that energy, that brain power on deciding what's going to be helpful. I want to spend that time studying.
Hello, everybody. Welcome in or welcome back to the 7 Sage LSAT podcast. We're here every week to help you understand the test, build better study habits, and also, of course, improve your LSAT score. And my name is Bailey. I'm one of the instructors here at 7 Sage.
And I'm Priyana. I'm also an instructor at Seven Sage. And today we're going to be talking about something that is really important to the both of us. And I think it's probably going to be important to a lot of listeners, a lot of studiers out there, which is studying for the LSAT with ADHD. How can we optimize our study processes, make it easier for ourselves to sort of get into study mode and just remove those roadblocks that come with that ADHD mind?
Lovely. And I think that hopefully we're both pretty well qualified to speak on this. I got raging ADHD up in my brain, and
Yep.
so do you.
Uh
Wait,
huh.
I'm
Definitely.
I'm curious about, so you were diagnosed since you were a child.
Since I was like maybe like 12 when I was
Okay.
diagnosed. Um,
Pretty early. Nice.
yeah, so pretty early and like I'd been on and off ADHD medication. And I found also like, especially now, like you're an adult and you sort of have the freedom to live your life the way you want to live your life. A lot of what happens is like, how can I create systems for myself that enable me to be able to succeed? Whether it's like small tasks like cleaning my house, doing my laundry, studying, things in the workplace, it's about setting myself up for success and removing that friction that comes with like executive dysfunction, decision making skills. And I think these things are helpful for everybody, not just for people with ADHD, but that's kind of the lens with which we're going to talk about this today.
Agreed. Nice. Yeah. And I think it's helpful if you have like already known this about yourself for a while, you've been building these tools over time, but also if you didn't know this about yourself for a while, like I literally got diagnosed for ADHD while I was studying for the LSAT.
Mm.
I knew I probably had it for a long time. Big sign was all of my teachers growing up asked if I had it. Like, are
Yeah.
you ADHD? And I was like,
Hmm.
I don't know. Haha. Let me just not get
Why would you
diagnosed.
say that? Yeah.
LOL. Yeah, super weird. Um,
Hmm.
but no, I knew that I had it. I was just like, I'm gonna tough it out on my own. Like, I can figure this out. Who cares? And then as soon as I got to the LSAT, I was like, you know what? This is just making things prohibitively difficult. Like, I gotta
Hmm.
at least learn more about this thing that I have to be able to kind of get on top of it. So
Yeah,
this is your guys' right. If
absolutely.
you've been realizing like maybe you have some symptoms, some signs, you don't have to go and get formally diagnosed necessarily. This is not going to be like medical advice. This is just invitation to start maybe setting up some things in your study habits in your life to make things go a little bit smoother.
Yeah, what can we do to help ourselves? Like, that's really all it is. And, even if you don't have ADHD and you just sort of like empathize with a lot of the ADHD
Right.
systems or symptoms, then this is a good place to start, I think.
Okay, so let's start with just kind of breaking down how does ADHD impact you on the LSAT? Like, kind of makes just getting started studying hard. What did you experience?
Yeah, I mean, I think a lot of the problems that I had with the LSAT was like that task initiation phase. And for me, like I get stuck in between tasks. I'll do one thing and then I'll sit down and it feels like impossible to start the next thing. I don't really know where to go, what is sort of like the next step to keep the momentum of my day moving forward. And so I found it was really helpful to have like a loose structure of what I was going to do and also like predefining the first 15 minutes of my study plan. What am I going to do when I sit down at my desk? Is it going to be like 3 questions and a drill that I had built the previous night? I actually used to print out my drills and put them on my desk, like the first sort of things I started, because that visual reminder was really helpful. And then, like, I knew what to do when I sat down. And if I was able to start studying, it's easier to keep the ball rolling. But it's like if I open my laptop and I have the whole world in front of me and I could do anything, I could watch a video, I could take a prep test, I could do a drill. It's hard to sort of like figure out what happens next. Did you experience something similar when you were studying?
Oh, for sure. Yes. And I'm definitely just the biggest procrastinator. I think that that's a big symptom or correlation with ADHD as well, where it's just like, I'm going to put off the task until like the pressure is on and I have to do it. But that just doesn't work for the LSAT. Like, that's part of where I was just like, okay, girl, you got to get serious about what's working, what's not working, because there's no way that you can keep studying in the same way that you have been, which exactly mine was like really random. If I didn't know what I was going to do that day, I would just kind of like merp around online until I felt like I was accomplished enough. And there was not really any rhyme or reason to it. And I also just struggled to get myself to actually stay consistent with studying. So, Yeah, object in motion stays in motion, object at rest stays
Yeah.
at rest, simple inertia. I know so much science for sure.
From the
Um
LSAT, we all learned it.
Right,
Yeah.
exactly, it's true.
Mhm.
So, yeah, I totally agree with what you're saying, like, as soon as I at least started giving myself a warm up every day, like that first 15 minutes of studying, at different times in my studying that looked different, but especially when I started realizing, like, "Okay, I gotta improve with RC somehow," I started doing just a nice easier RC passage as a warm up, especially because that was not what I looked forward to the most, and so I'd be like, "Okay, girl, just clock in your time, like, do the stupid little RC passage," and as I just got more consistent with my studying, like even as soon as I had a week where I studied every day with one rest day, everything got so much easier because I think it's also probably common, not even if you have ADHD only, but like just plenty of people get really inconsistent with their studying. They don't know how often to study, how long to be studying each day. And when you're in that phase of your studying, it's just you're not going to see too much improvement in your score.
Yeah, especially if you're sitting down and you're studying and you're not really sure what you're doing, and then you sort of end your day without that sort of feeling, "Oh, okay, I accomplished what I wanted to accomplish, or I did something today that's gonna be, like, impactful to me, impactful to my study journey." Then the next
Right.
day, you don't really feel all that motivated to study either. It's hard to build that consistency, and I think that, like, ADHD brains often, like, reward intensity over consistency, but the consistency is kind of what's gonna help us keep building and seeing those changes, and it takes time, but once you see those changes, like, that also, like, dopamine hit helps us build back to, like, wanting to go
Right.
back and doing those slow little improvements. And RC especially, like, I think it's very true, like, probably for ADHD people, I mean, for me too, like, RC is, like, it's less rewarding, it requires more of that, sort of longer term, I mean, it's still short term recall, but longer term than an LR, like stimulus that's this big. Um,
Right.
and like you're not making these quick decisions, doing questions, sort of going through them as quickly. So I think RC can
Right.
definitely be like a harder one to tackle. I think starting with RC is a good tip too, like printing out the passage or having the passage
Right.
bookmarked and just like diving in there and telling myself I'm going to do one RC passage, maybe three LR questions. And then from there, you can sort of see what was difficult, what did I get wrong, and then make decisions about how you're gonna spend the rest of your time studying.
Agreed. And on this note, while we're talking about RC, yeah, part of why it's so much harder, I feel like, to study in general is just like it's boring as hell and you got to focus for a little bit longer. And so, something that actually helps me, like kind of using my ADHD brain as I don't know, as a gift in this case, not necessarily a poison in all times, is I kind of let my brain run its circles. Like while I'm reading an RC passage, I won't let myself get all the way off topic, but in order to engage better with what I'm reading, I'll let that little, voice in the back of my head be like, what? Why is this person trying to conclude this thing? Like they're ridiculous. Or, like, oh, I like this. Like maybe it's a passage about corn or something. I'm like, oh, I like corn. I'm thinking about corn, something like that, where it's just silly little ADHD brain giving me a thought that might not be that helpful in my head. At least it's keeping me on track and it's helping me stay more engaged, helping me stay at least a little bit more interested or entertained. Because if you get too bored and you clock out, I mean, that's the worst thing that could happen. Then you're not even paying attention to what you're reading and it's just a reading test. Like you got to be paying attention.
No, that's so true, and I think that staying engaged in RC is, like, one of the most important things in RC, and, like, I always, like I try to put myself in the mindset with RC, like, I think of
Right.
myself as, like, a journalist. I'm, like, an investigative
Mm,
journalist, and
I
I'm
like
reading
that.
this, and everything they write, I'm like, "Why would you write that? Why would you say that? What was the point? What evidence did you have? How is this
Right.
building up to the person's point of, like, writing the article as a whole?" And so, like, continuously, like, asking questions back to the passage while I'm reading it helps me sort of lock in a little bit more and not like because otherwise, like, you're reading, when you're, like, reading and then you're actually not reading and you're like, "I just read all
Right.
those
You like
words,"
you just
but
yep.
yeah,
Went in one ear,
they're
out
just
the other. I have
words.
no idea what I just
Exactly.
read.
I have no
Yes.
idea what that said. So, we wanna avoid that. So and I like too that, like, you let yourself sort of, like, think about, your own, like, personal reactions or opinions. I think, like, having the gut like, immediate reaction of, like, shutting that down, shutting those thoughts down makes it really, really hard to, like, even just relax and engage with the passage, like, it makes it unnecessarily stressful.
Exactly. I don't wanna feel like I'm fighting against myself to make this work. I wanna use my own self and use, like, what my self is naturally doing while I'm reading to make it work.
Yeah,
Um, so
absolutely.
sweet.
Yeah.
Okay, yeah, so in terms of, anything else we were gonna say on the points that we were just making, having that idea of, like, how you're gonna start your studying and then also just having kind of like a theme for each day definitely helped me a lot. I would try to like personally what I did was I did like 2 LR heavy days a week, 1 RC heavy day, and then another day that was more focused on timing and of course, not letting accuracy take the back seat there, like timing plus accuracy. 1 rest day, whole day to take a PT, and then a whole day to blind review and wrong answer journal it. That was just kind of like my overall approach. You don't have to do that exact same thing, but giving yourself a goal for each day, like this is my LR day or this is my RC day. And I'm going to, just do tasks that are related to whatever goals I have for that section for the week. That can be super helpful. And there is a nice little study plan tool on Seven Sage that'll do all of this for you. If you want to just go and click, let me make sure that it's under the right tab that I'm thinking study and then learn, or well, you don't even have to click on learn. It just pops up with study plan. You put in your timeline, you put in how many hours per day you can do, and they're going to update that based on your analytics and your own strengths and weaknesses. So I wish I had something like that when I was studying. That thing just came out and it is so much more helpful.
It's so helpful. Yeah, and it takes away from, like, that decision fatigue of, like, having to make a
Right.
decision about what I'm gonna do next every single day. Like, I don't want to spend that energy, that brain power on deciding what's gonna be helpful. I wanna spend that time studying. And so I did something similar to you, like, I kinda had, like, a cycle, like, that I would go through where it's like, you do the prep test, and then I wrong answer journal the prep test, and then I sort of think about what are the changes that I'm gonna make. I sort of go back to the curriculum, go back to, like, my notes, my resources, and then from there, I drill those specific things untimed. I move to timed practice. And then once I feel confident that I'm like actually made a difference, actually made a change, I go back to the PT and see what changed. And so having that sort of overall like loose structure, that like strategy of what's going to happen, I think can be really helpful um in just keeping that momentum.
I think that's a good transition to our other point, which we've already been starting to build on this, but like specifically, how do we adjust your study system, your plan to be more compatible with your mentals, with your ADHD or whatever is going on for you? What anything you want to add right away here? I can start talking about what I was thinking, but you tell
Yeah,
me.
I think like for me what's really important and like obviously it's not the same for everybody, but like I have like such low level of object permanence where like if it's not right in front of me, it's gone. I have no idea what it like,
Oh,
I really
same.
don't remember it, yeah. So, like, doing the wrong answer journal, like, I was doing, like, a Google sheet, I'm never gonna look at that Google sheet again. I have
Same.
1,000 tabs open on my computer, I have no idea where it lives, I have no idea what it's called, it was just not helpful for me, and so when I switched to, like, a
Same.
physical wrong answer journal, I think that was really helpful, having that on my desk every single day to remind me to wrong answer journal. And then the other thing I did is like once a week, I pulled out like 3 to 5 takeaways. One, so I don't have to keep flipping through my wrong answer journal. And then I put them on a separate sheet and I would tape that to the wall. I love putting things on my wall. My wall
Me
is always
too.
like
Me too.
sticky.
It
Yeah,
always
you
has
do.
so many sticky notes. That's so
Yeah,
funny.
so many sticky notes with like all of the things that I just need to remember. Like,
Right.
actually, my LSAT studying sticky notes are still, my roommate's probably like, can you please take those down? I
Oh,
should
really?
take
They
them.
are? What do they say? I'm so curious. Is any
There,
of them like nice little things to yourself or what is it with?
you know what? I don't think they're nice things to myself. I think they're like tips. They're just like, like like it for a pseudo sufficient assumption, like match premise and conclusion relationship to sufficiency and necessity. Literal tips. Yeah. Or like most strongly supported, like support comes from the stimulus versus strengthen, we're adding support to the stimulus, like with arrows. Yes, exactly. Stuff like that, or like the conditional indicators that would be hard for me to remember. Even just writing it down and like seeing it every day. It's not like I'd be testing and then like look at the wall and like try and find the sticky note. It's more just like having it there, like keeps it in my mind.
Oh, I should have done more things like that. I mean, I kind of had like an ongoing notebook of that. My sticky note things that I put on the wall, though, well, at first I was really mean to myself. Like some of them would just be like, read better, you idiot. But then I was like, no,
No,
no, this isn't helping at all. Like, no,
I'm
no,
scared.
you're
Like,
regular. Just like keep,
yeah.
pause every couple words, translate in your own words, and then keep going. It's all fine.
Hmm.
But then I started doing like nicer things where it was like, do this for little Bailey. Like you're doing it for your younger self and things like that. Like think about future Bailey, think about little Bailey. So I don't know, whatever. This hopefully helps at least one person throw some sticky notes up on your wall. But yeah, I totally agree. I had to switch to doing my wrong answer journal in a physical notebook. And that's just, different for every person. But it does seem like that would be a more helpful thing in general for ADHDers because just physical thing and you can flip through it. You can make sure that you're gleaning some takeaways from that. And then, yeah, exact same thing for myself. I would be like, okay, these are my 3 to 5 bullet points that I'm going to focus on this week. Got to make sure that I implement them, my takeaways into my practice so that I'm not just doing the same thing over and over and hoping for different results.
Yeah. And I think also, like, can I, like, clear my desk the night before? And, like, what are the things that, like, when I sit down, I'm immediately gonna get up and go do? I'm gonna change the temperature. I'm gonna be like, "Oh, I don't have enough water. Let me get the water. Where's my pen?" I need lip balm. I need a hair tie, all of that stuff. Like, I clean my desk when I'm done studying the night before, and so I set myself up for success the next morning. If I'm wrong answer journaling the next morning, the wrong answer journal and the pen are on my desk, and I have my lip balm and my hair tie, and I fill up a water bottle, and I put a little snack. Like, how can I
Girl, you
just
got
sort
it
of
figured out. This is funny because I'm looking at my desk right now and I'm like, "Shit, I did not
yeah,
clean it at
I'm
all."
not so
But I'm not
intense
studying
now.
anymore.
Yeah, right. I was really hustling then though. Like, I was on it. I think that was probably like the most. Yeah, I mean, I had only studied before, like, in school, right? And, like, while being in school, I feel like I didn't have such a good understanding of, like, the way that my brain works and, like, how I can set myself up for success. But, like, being an adult and, like, living in my own space and having my own apartment, like, I realized all of these things are really helpful for me. And, like, what can I do to just sort of, like, ease the cognitive load and, like, make it so that way my studying is, like, as effective as possible. Um and doing things the night before is, like, so, so helpful for me, like, really. Because if I start doing them in the morning and then I'm getting up and sitting down and now
Right.
I'm
It's just
cleaning
like
my
remove the barriers
apartment.
to entry. Like chances are
Yes.
I'm not actually gonna end up doing things if I don't
Right,
set myself up for
exactly.
success.
Yeah, uh-huh.
Yes.
So
No,
what
that's
can I
so
do to just
smart.
make it so studying is, like, I can focus on that? And like you said, the study plan is also super helpful with that because it takes away, like, the mental decisions of what to study. How do I take away the other barriers about, like, my environment and making sure that's also, like, a conducive space to sit down and sort of really just dive in right away.
And on the note of like what does an actual study day look like for you? I'm so curious. Have you ever
Mhm.
actually sat down for, let's say, more tthan 2 hours straight, not a PT, and studied the whole time? Like, can you sit there and keep focusing that whole time? Because I definitely can't.
Probably not, like, doing, like having some sort of, like, timer, like, they say, like, the Pomodoro technique where you
As I
use,
was
like, the
gonna say, I
kitchen
was wondering
timer.
if you remembered the name of that thing because I
Yeah,
always forget the name
I
of it, but
remember.
I do
Yeah.
it.
Doing something like that and, like, giving yourself those, like, rewards or breaks at the end of a certain time, or, like, I prefer to do it, like, with, like, a set number of questions, like, I'm gonna do 5 questions, and then I'm gonna be able to take a
Right.
break, and, like, I can go walk. Going outside is awesome, like, I have a
Oh,
dog, and so,
same.
like, walking my dog is the best. I try not to use my breaks to, like, go on my phone and scroll.
See, that's so
Unfortunately.
fair.
Yeah. Like,
But unfortunately, that
unfortunately,
happens
and it
sometimes.
does happen, and I did notice, like, I actually, like, cut short form content, like TikTok, Instagram Reels, all of that stuff, like, maybe, like, a month or 2 months before my test because I felt like it was negatively impacting, like, my recall, my, like,
Oh, for
short-term recall,
sure.
and I noticed a huge difference, especially in RC. I mean, obviously, you don't need to, like, cut everything out of your life, like, you don't have to, like, not do it, but I did not do it, and I noticed a difference, and, like, even watching, like, a longer form, like, YouTube video or a TV show or something like that, it's just
Right.
better for your brain. Like, I didn't want, like, to keep rewarding my brain for looking at things for 2 seconds, discarding it immediately, and then not remembering what I saw at all.
No, exactly. Yeah, I mean, people have been talking about that in terms of, like, why does it seem like maybe so many more people have ADHD these days? Well, is the way that we do communication and daily life on social media helping that? No, it's probably, like, making it so exactly, it's like you get the instant gratification from, "Oh, funny video, let me scroll and see another one for the next 15 seconds," and then rinse and repeat, and obviously that's not gonna train you to be able to focus for longer than 15 seconds. So, like, do a whole RC passage or do an entire LR question. Yeah, same here. I would definitely have to get myself moving, and I would be like I would also do a set number of questions or like, okay, 30 minutes on, at least 5 minutes off, do some sort of quick little break, get my wiggles out. Like, sometimes I would just, like, go on a run around the block, like, 1 block
Yeah,
run, come
perfect.
right back.
That's amazing.
Perfect.
Yeah. Great, yeah. And anything you can do to, like, make those breaks easier for yourself too. Like, if it means going outside versus, like, going on your phone, like, do you need to set your running shoes in front of the door? Like, do you need to already be wearing your athletic clothes so
Right.
that way you can get outside a little bit easier, you feel more motivated to go outside? Like, again, like, how can I sort of break down those barriers that, like, wanna pull me back into, like, that super easy thing of, like, opening my phone and, like, scrolling for 10 minutes? I really do feel like it gives me a lot more brain fog. like using those.
Same,
And
for
okay,
sure.
I was gonna say that's just me, but maybe it's
No,
me
I
and
totally
you.
agree. I'm, like, reflecting on my
Yeah.
own habits today right now. I'm like, "Damn, I should stop doing that during breaks during classes even." Not that I, like, need so hard to study for anything anymore, but, like, I don't know, it just makes your mentals a little bit lighter when you're doing something that it doesn't even have to be productive. Like, it's just something where your brain is not roped into somebody else talking for 15 seconds and then move on. Like, I have right, yeah. I have, like, colored pencils and a little sketchbook by my desk, and I'm
Awesome.
like, "I should just be doing that on my breaks
Do
instead."
that. Yeah.
And this could
That's
be good for you
great.
guys too. Like, do something
Yeah.
that is like a way to kind of, like, use your body or your brain doing something, but then also leave open that space in the rest of your brain to, like, think a little bit about the LSAT or think not about at all about the LSAT while you're doing this other task. Because
Yeah.
if you're
No, I
just
love doodling. Doodling is
scrolling,
great.
it's not gonna help.
It's
Yeah,
not gonna
yay,
help.
doodling.
Unfortunately, it's really not gonna help. I, like, hate that because 'cause I'm like I really was so shocked at the difference I noticed when I, like, eliminated that. I was like,
Yeah.
"This is actually" like, when they say, like, brain rot, like, they meant that. That was
Oh, for
real.
sure.
Yeah.
Yes. By the way, this conversation is so funny. I noticed we're doing the ADHD thing where we kind of like both talk at the same time,
Yeah.
and it's making sense for my brain. Hopefully, it makes sense for everybody's
I
listening
yeah,
brain.
that's our producer's problem. He can
Yeah, he'll deal with
put
that.
package this,
Perfect.
yeah, into something that makes sense. Or maybe it's just our ADHD listeners and they're right here with us.
Right.
Yeah.
Amazing. Perfect. Okay,
Let's
cool.
see.
So, yeah, what else were we gonna say? Oh,
Body
you put
doubling?
that's what I was
Oh.
just gonna say. Yeah, you
Oh,
put body
perfect.
doubling on here.
Never
That works
mind.
so well for me.
Yeah.
So that's just
Mhm.
wait, let me make sure that I have the definition right. It's just like studying when somebody else is in the room, right?
Yeah,
Like you got somebody
exactly.
to do it. Oh yeah, I will not clean my room, for example, unless a friend is over.
And
Like when
somebody's
a
wa
friend is
yeah.
over. And it's not even like I'm like, "Oh no, I can't have this messy for you." It's like, "Oh, you're here now. I can
Let
focus
me
to
clean my
clean."
room. Yeah, we're gonna clean my room, that's the activity. Yeah.
Right.
Mhm. No, it does make such a
So
difference. And if you can have an LSAT study buddy, like, that's even better, like, someone else who's also studying. It's harder because, like, obviously not everybody goes to law school and, like, we're all at different places in our lives, and so maybe if you're in school, like, you're in undergrad, you might know more people studying for the LSAT. I met someone online, I met someone through Reddit, and, like, she was, like, my LSAT bestie. She helped
right,
me
fun.
so, so
Were you guys in the
much.
same place? Like, did you physically meet up or was it oh,
No, we
nice.
would Zoom, and she was in LA and I was here in New York, and we would, like, meet yeah, we would meet over Zoom, and we would do the same prep test every week, and then we would talk about our wrong answers, and, like, when I got something wrong, like, explaining it to or sh when I got something right that she got wrong, explaining it to her was so helpful, and then she would do the opposite for
I like that,
me.
I like that. When I get it wrong, I'm gonna explain
Yeah, I'm also
it.
gonna explain it then too. Just talking through your reasoning, I think, is really, really
Right.
helpful. So if you can find someone that's studying for the LSAT, and I see people post on the discussion forum on 7 Sage all the time, like looking for study
Oh, yeah.
buddies. I
So
saw
many
someone
people.
post like looking for ADHD study buddies, like I'm really
Wow.
motivated. So if that's something you're interested in, like go over there and check it out. Like see what's going on. See, listen, there are hundreds of people just like you. You might not know them, but they're
Yeah.
out there and they also want help studying for the LSAT. So whatever you can do
Mhm.
to sort of help yourself be accountable is like, I think really, really helpful and make it social. Like I think that we're ADHD people are often like, you know, we're chatty, we have lots of thoughts, we have lots of ideas. It's helpful to have someone there to sort of like bounce things off of.
Right, agreed. Yeah, and of course, within reason, like, sometimes I sit down with my friends to study and they're like, "Okay, I actually can't study with you." And I'm like,
This
"Okay,
is
fine,
actually
I'll
not
reel it in, I'll
helpful.
reel
Yeah.
it in." We're body doubling. We are both sitting here in silence, silence,
Yeah,
silence.
exactly. Parallel play.
But yeah, no, I definitely found that to be a lot more helpful. I was, like, so in my own head about my studying for so long. I was so embarrassed that I felt like I should have been better at the test already, and, like, it felt like all my friends were better, but then as soon as I sucked it up and I, like, was real with one of my friends, she was like, "Wait, I'm struggling too." And then we would FaceTime and, like, body double to make sure we could study together. We would send little voice memos back and forth to make sure that we could explain questions, so plenty of different ways to just lean on other people during this process, not something that you're meant to do alone.
Did you notice a difference, like, or did you make any changes, like, in your study routine after you got diagnosed with ADHD versus before?
Ooh. Good question. Yeah, I think it's kind of similar things to what we're talking about right now. Like I realized that I needed to set things up for myself to be able to just get the ball rolling on a daily basis. So I would start creating those drills the night before. I started doing my wrong answer journal in my physical notebook. Just things like that helped a lot. Plus, I started therapy when I started doing the LSAT, and so like so much was coming together. I was like, oh my gosh, wait, I'm not a bad person. I just have been dealt bad cards, like things like that, where it was just all coming together and I could understand a little bit more of how to mentally approach a really mentally grueling test. Trying to think of anything else specific that I did. Did you do anything else specific, especially, I guess, in terms of this, like, self-care or managing that burnout that you might have been experiencing?
Definitely, like, the rest days, like, I had one day where I'm like, "I'm absolutely not gonna do anything else that related," and I think that that's really helpful, like, to sort of just give your brain a break, and also, like,
Right.
to have some sort of reward to look forward to. I never recommend to anybody to study every single day of the week, like, I just don't do
Yeah.
that. It's just a bad idea.
Same. And I would be tempted to. Like when I was studying on my own, I'd feel like one day off would be like all this stuff lost, but that's just not true at all. Like you do an experiment with yourself. Do 1 week where you do every single day, do 1 week where you have a day off. Chances are your score is honestly going to go up when you have the week where you do have a rest day because we're human. We're not LSAT
Yeah, and sometimes I
robots.
would feel like on my rest day, I'm like, "Oh, I could study today." Like, I feel fine. Like, I feel ready to study. I wanna study, like, but I think it's important to be consistent with yourself about your rest as well as about your studying because, like, they go hand in hand, and if you're not consistent about one, it's gonna be harder to be consistent about the other one too. You know, if you're letting yourself break those rules, those protocols that you've set up for yourself, like, in terms of rest, it's gonna be easier to break them in terms of studying as well.
So yeah, on that note as well, just like making sure that you have those realistic expectations. Like I definitely went through a long phase of my studying where I was trying to kind of bite off more than I could chew week after week. Like I'd be like, well, I want to get to the 170s this week. And I was at like a 159. And it's like, okay, well, maybe a little bit here. Like, let's pause, let's dial it back. And so just giving myself small, reachable goals every week, giving myself realistic expectations, even for just like how much I could study within a day I think helps a lot. Your goal should just be improving by like 1 to 2 points. And how are you going to do that? You're going to focus on 1 to 2 question types in each section, or maybe for RC, like I'm really struggling with these critique debate passages. You choose a passage style based on your analytics that's higher priority. And you just focus on those things throughout the week. And then you see baby steps of improvement week after week. You really got to train your brain out of this instant gratification to like slow, delayed gratification in order to get better at this test.
Yeah, definitely, I agree with that, and I also think, like, if you sit down to study and, like, your brain is, like, not in it, like, it's okay to give yourself a break. Like, you don't have to force your way through brain fog or, like, a cloud of, like, if you're just really, like, not engaged or not locked in, like, do those tasks that we talked about, go for a run, do some doodling, like, take a break, and, like,
Right.
I'm gonna give myself 20 minutes, and then I'm gonna sit back down. I'm gonna give myself 30 minutes, and then I'm gonna sit back down, and I'm just gonna do 5 minutes. So, like, make sure that you're not being unrealistic with yourself, like, about what you can or can't do in the moment too. Like do a body scan, like take some deep breaths, check in with yourself and like really try to engage with like the level of concentration that you're able to give. Like you can't ask yourself to give more than you're able to give and then be
Right.
disappointed when you don't meet that expectation. Guess what? You're not going to want to study tomorrow either because it doesn't seem like it's going so well because you set yourself up for failure. And we want to set ourselves up for success because that's what helps build that consistency.
True. Totally agree. Okay, so I guess we should wrap it up soon. Anything else that we want to throw in here? Anything else that was helpful for you?
Maybe just, like, naming your wins, like, the small things that you did that were good, like, I wrong answer journaled every single wrong answer this week. That's awesome. It's
Yes.
not about, like, what did I score on my last PT, although if you got, a better score, like, that's also a
Right.
win that you can name, but, like, think about the other things, the smaller wins, like, I feel like I understand sufficient assumptions better. I have a new approach or I changed something in my approach. Like, think about what you're
Right.
changing, what have you advanced upon since the last week, since the last day, and just like throw those in your sort of wrong answer journal, your LSAT study notebook as well. Like write them down, name them, give yourself a pat on the back, give yourself a pat on the back just for studying because like it's not easy. And a lot of the times it's not fun. Although if we can make it fun, it's helpful, it's better, but it can be frustrating and it can definitely be difficult. And like that's the sort of realistic expectations that we want to have.
Totally agree. Yeah. And on that note of like writing down also how you've been getting better at strategy, a lot of what helped me feel like my brain was less all over the place and I could focus more when I was going through the sections was just having solid strategies, step by step processes for every question type. So, like, if you notice yourself falling into the habit of not consistently identifying the premise and the main conclusion right away as soon as you get into the stimulus, or not consistently identifying that gap or hole if it's an invalid argument, not going as far as pre-phrasing your answer choices or not giving yourself a couple ways to double check the right answer. that's where you could kind of dial it back and start adding in more of those specific steps in your process. Because again, if you don't have those, then it's just kind of like you're doing it based on
What am I doing?
vibes, and
Yeah, vibes are not gonna get
vibes
you
aren't going to
there,
help. I tried to do
unfortunately.
it based on vibes for so long. I was like, yeah, let me
Yeah.
just trust my little intuition. No, she did
I
not
mean,
lead
it'll get
me
you
down the right path.
somewhere, right? Yeah, it'll get you
Right.
somewhere, and I tell my students this too, and I love that you said step by step because, like, this is what I did, and this is what I recommend to my students too, is, like, go through every single question type and write down like a playbook. Have like a guide of what am I going to do the same every single time I see this type of question and practice doing it every single time you see that type of question. You have to slow your brain down and sort of notice all of those little things. And it's hard when like, especially like I think intuition can get you pretty far. It can get you into the 160s. It can get you even to the high 160s. And if that's what you're looking for, then, that's good. But to get that level of precision where like you're scoring higher or you're seeing measurable improvements every single time, you have to be doing it. Can't, like you said, you can't just go off vibes, you can't just go off tuitions, you have to be doing those same steps every single time in order to notice everything that they want you to notice. So I think that's like a really good tip. ADHD people, non-ADHD people, like think about, yeah, everybody, do I know what is the goal of this question? What makes the right answer right? Sort of like, what is the criteria for the right answer? What is my rubric? And how am I going to get there? If you don't know those three things before you read the question, I don't even want to go to the answer choices. How am I going to tell if it's right if I don't know what makes the right answer right? Like, again, you're not setting yourself up for success. And like, whatever we can do to sort of make it so it's easier beforehand. By the time you get to the question, I want you to like feel so confident that you know what you're going to do that you don't even have to worry about it.
Exactly. Agreed. Okay, sweet. So, just to recap, we talked about how ADHD might kind of change how you're studying for the LSAT and how you might want to shift your schedule. Likewise, talked about following that study plan on 7 stage, giving yourself different theme days, planning things out the night before, physical wrong answer journal. And then just making sure that you have those step by steps on deck. Maybe treat that as an ongoing project. Like, hey, today I'm going to add one more question type to my ongoing, like I call my worksheet of it LR recipes. I have little recipes to get the right answer for every LR question. And then, yeah, really just taking care of yourself. Like so much of this test, ADHD or not, is making sure that you are checking with yourself, treating yourself like a human, not a robot. And so naming your wins, having those realistic expectations, taking rest days, it's all going to come together. All right. On that note, thank you guys so much for coming and listening. And make sure, as always, that you subscribe, you check out all of 7 Stages services, including our amazing LSAT prep platform on the website. We have courses, we have live classes, we have admissions consulting, we have tutoring. What else? What else could you ask for in an LSAT prep platform?
We have an amazing study scheduler, which we shouted
Yes.
out.
Yeah,
hmm
exactly.
Yeah, you can come to
All
our
right.
classes too.
Yes, please. We make them fun.
hmm
We make them so
Yeah.
fun. All right, you guys, have a good week. See you next time.
Thanks, y'all. Have a good one. Bye.